Hi there, this is another episode of the Troy Francis podcast. So, look, it is Wednesday, so I'm a little bit late with this week. So, apologies for that. No real excuses, except, well, it was bank holiday weekend here in London, and I was out partying. So, we were at the Notting Hill Carnival on Sunday, and then on Monday, when I should have released this, I was out with my girl, and we were going around East London, and then we also went down to the coast as well to visit a very nice little British seaside town called Margate, and it was beautifully hot weather. I even went topless for a little bit. She didn't, unfortunately for you pervs out there, but I went topless for a little bit, got a nice tan. We enjoyed the sea, we enjoyed walking around, admiring the chaviness and the hipsterness of the British seaside, which is common to places like Brighton, so I was interested, and Worthing a little bit as well, so I was interested to see it in Margate, which is in Kent. So yeah, I had a really good weekend, really fun time, quite relaxing, but I was conscious all the way through it that I owe you guys a podcast, and I wanted to put this up, although I'll maybe keep it a little bit on the shorter side today, because it is a little bit late. So updates from me. Apart from that, my book bundle, which is called Renegade Dating Blueprint, you can get all 10 of my books in that bundle for the cost of just $39 currently. That does come with the caveat you sign up for my email list as well on the link, but there's no great obligation there, because to be frank, if you don't like the emails, and I've got no idea why that would be the case, but if you didn't, then you can always unsubscribe. But anyway, click the link, sign up, and then you will get a link to get my 10 book bundle for that ridiculously low sum of just $39. And that includes all of my classics, from How to Be an Arsehole to The 7 Laws of Seduction to Text Game Mastery to Cucked is in there as well. So there's loads and loads of really great stuff in there to put you on the right track, both for dating and also for understanding the wider sexual marketplace. Okay, so that's that. And also I'm working on the novel, which is sort of going on in the background. Procrastinated a little bit, I have to say, over the last week or so, which is naughty. The structure is all done. It's all there. Almost all there, I should say. Really, it's a question now of me getting down to it and biting the bullet and just getting on with writing the first draft. So I need to do that, but I have been procrastinating a little bit, so I will rectify that very shortly and report back to you. Okay, so moving on to today's podcast. I want to talk about the 3 C's today in the podcast, and those are charisma, confidence, and conversation skills. Now, this podcast is really a placeholder, if you like, and it's almost as much as a verbal audio note to myself, if you like, in terms of the direction that we're going to be taking with the content going forwards. Because what I've been thinking about recently is a lot of, what are the fundamentals that really make somebody attractive? What is it, you can cut away all of the game bullshit and all of the, say these lines and pause here and stand like this and blah, blah, blah. There's all of that stuff, which is fine. You need to learn those techniques. It's all out there. But what's the real fundamentals of attractiveness? And I think the fundamental of attractiveness really is charisma. Now, alongside that comes confidence, and they're kind of connected, but they're specifically connected in the sense that if you're not confident, then you're not going to be able to transmit your charisma on any sort of a decent level. So you need to have a degree of confidence, and again, that they are connected, but another component of this, of course, is having conversation skills, because, and I've seen this, through years and years of working in this industry, of teaching guys how to improve their prospecting dating, of networking myself, of doing dating myself and all the rest of it. What really, really moves the dial is not so much being an alpha, not so much being amazing looking or having huge muscles or a Lambo or any of those things. And of course, those things can help. But what really it really comes down to, in the end, is the ability to hold a conversation, the ability to be engaging on an interpersonal level. And if you can do that, then you are miles and miles ahead of the competition, basically. So those three things, and as I say, they are interlinked: charisma, confidence, and conversation skills, are going to be really at the heart of my content going forward for the next little while. So moving away from sort of specific game techniques as much, and more how can you acquire this holistically attractive male persona, if you like. And the headline, really, if you like, is charisma, and then the other two sort of fall beneath that, if you like, as more, I mean, conversation skills are tactical, and confidence is a mindset thing, really. So charisma is the key to all of this, really. And what I've been saying, if you've been watching my last few videos and looking at my content, then you'll note that I've been talking about this idea, or sorry, rather, this need to understand yourself, this need to get to the bottom of yourself. And I made a couple of videos about this last week, which were actually really well received. And just on a personal note, I really enjoyed doing those videos. So I'm going to try and shoot something else today, and I'm going to be doing a couple more this week if I can. And I don't want to commit to multiple videos a week at this stage, but I was certainly quite enjoying it last week, and I felt I had a bit of a momentum that was picking up. So that's something I'm sort of keen to continue with. But anyway, I've been talking about this need to understand yourself if you're going to be charismatic, and I kind of wanted to pull that together a little bit on this podcast, just in case it's not clear to people what I'm talking about, because why should being charismatic have anything to do with knowing about yourself? Well, for me, this all goes back to my book, How to Be an Arsehole, which I wrote 2 years ago, and actually it came out now, and it remains my best-selling book. It sells very well to this day, still makes me a lot of decent cash that goes into the back pocket, so thank you very much for that if you have purchased the book or if you've purchased my bundle. But yeah, so that book came out a couple of years ago, and there were really two elements to it. The first was about the dark tetrad characteristics, which are Machiavellianism, narcissism, sociopathy, and sadism. So I discuss those, and I discuss how you can incorporate those in a relatively mild way into your nice guy behaviors. Kind of like using the spice, if you like, to spice up a dish that might otherwise be somewhat bland. But then I go into this whole section about radical differentiation. And what I'm talking about there is basically the need to stand out from the crowd. Basically the need to not just be another chode like every other single chody guy who's come up to her in the bar that night, or in the coffee shop, or in the bookshop, or whatever it is, without anything going on for him. And what I say in that section is that you need to have something going on for you. You need to have substance. You need to be exciting. You need to be a bit mysterious. And I go on to really go into a bit of my own history and to sort of explain how things changed for me. And this all required quite a lot of intensive work on myself, work on my my childhood, my traumas, things that had happened to me in the past, and really going back and examining how my life changed from being a very shy, introverted, fairly ineffective socially kind of guy when I was in my teens and into my very early 20s, into somebody who became almost the opposite in a way. And I mean, I think it would be fair to say, for anyone who knew me in my early 20s, I was pretty insufferable for a number of years during that time, because I flipped from being somebody who was incredibly self-effacing, incredibly shy, didn't really like to look anyone in the eye, to being somebody who was the complete reverse of that. Somebody who was very brash, who was very opinionated, who was loud, could be aggressive sometimes, who could be, talk over people, trample over other people's feelings, not really give a shit about anyone else except myself. Those things are not good qualities, and I'm not recommending that you copy that, but it did blow my shy, nice guy persona out of the water, and it did make me very attractive to girls in certain situations, particularly in sort of nightclubs and those types of situations. So obviously since then I've had the opportunity to do a lot of reflection, and I've been able to temper that side of myself, and I hope that I am more endurable socially these days, although people will perhaps disagree on that. But nevertheless, it was. I was really trying to think. Okay, so how did I go from one state to the other, and how can I help other guys who are in a similar situation to the one that I was in? And it occurred to me, after a lot of thought, that really what I did was I became more myself. So when I was the shy, self-effacing, uncharismatic guy, what I was really doing was trying to hide my true self from the world. I wasn't being honest with the world about who I was. And then when I flipped, and as I've said before, and I say, completely openly, this was affected, but to some degree, by using drink and other naughty narcotic substances, which I was doing at that time, which really forced me to come out of myself. Again, I don't recommend that, but that's sort of one of the factors that was involved in my transformation. But what happened was that I became almost aggressively myself. So overnight, I went from being, I'm not going to show my true self because I don't want people to judge me negatively, I'm afraid of what they will think of me, to being, I'm going to be my true self and I'm going to rub it in their faces, and I don't give a damn what they think because I think I'm bloody awesome, and that's the end of it. And both of those positions are not ideal. Both of those positions are wrong, in inverted commas, in that, we're all really somewhere in the middle. Nobody is so fantastically amazing that they should have the right to ride roughshod over everybody else that they come into contact with socially, but nor is anybody else a worthless piece of crap who should, prostrate themselves on the floor and self-flagellate and not speak to anybody either. We're all just human beings getting along. But what I found, and this is the slightly bitter red pill, if you like, lesson here, is that when I turned the dial up on being the arrogant arsehole, just being myself and not caring what anybody thought, in that incarnation I was more attractive, I got more traction socially, and things started to fall into my lap in a way that they hadn't before. So to do a rewind on all of that, when I make a video where I'm saying to you, you need to understand yourself, what I'm trying to do is to put the first steps in place of a pathway by which you can achieve that kind of supercharged charisma without having to resort to alcohol or drugs or anything like that. And as I say, I think the first thing really in the process is understanding who you actually are underneath the surface. Now, the problem for some of us is that who we are underneath the surface perhaps seems, on the face of it, like it's not going to be much of a wow at parties. So I was somebody who was very introverted, very bookish. I liked to sit in my room a lot and read. I didn't particularly like socializing. I didn't particularly like sports. I didn't like rugby or football or those kinds of things. I wasn't particularly interested in being fashionable or anything like that, although that changed. I was sort of, I guess I was sort of gamma in a sense. My inclinations veered more towards the gamma side of things, if anything. And my instinct was that those qualities weren't particularly attractive. They weren't going to impress anybody. And I was perhaps right, in a way. I mean, if you are just the boring nerd who's sitting at the back of the class reading Dickens, then you're probably not going to get much traction with the cheerleading squad. However, what I was to discover was that if you say, well, fuck it, I'm going to be the most loud, arrogant, obnoxious nerd in the history of the fucking world, then you will start to get traction. Now, that traction will be divided into various segments. There will be a proportion of people who think you're a dick and they don't like you and they don't, understand where you're coming from. There will be a proportion of people who think you're annoying, and there will be another segment of people who think you're pretty cool. And I'll tell you why. Because if you tell people enough that you are pretty cool, then you will find that people will start to believe that you are pretty cool, or at least a segment of people will start to believe that you're pretty cool. Not everybody, but you're never going to get everybody anyway. So, what you're aiming to do, if you like, is to be yourself radically, to be unapologetic about it, to broadcast that self to as many people as you can, and then capitalize on the people who think that you're cool. And as I say, you are going to piss some people off along the way, but that really is unfortunately, that just goes with the territory of making an impression. Now, I'm noticing at the moment, because I'm working in social media, I'm on Twitter all the time, I'm on YouTube, I blog, I do all these things. I am slowly starting to get more criticism. I woke up this morning and I had criticisms from various different people about various different things on different platforms. And yeah, that doesn't always feel good. It's not always fun to be publicly criticized by people. But at the end of the day, I also see it as a good thing, in the sense that when nobody knew who I was, nobody was criticizing me. When I'm sitting in my bedroom in my underpants and I'm not doing anything, then nobody's going to criticize me, because nobody knows a damn thing about me. Because people know something about me, I now attract criticism, but I also attract praise. And that needs to be the same in your social life as well. And this comes back to something else which I've said a lot in the past. You need to polarize when you are in this process of going out to attract girls, to meet women, and also to, maybe to create a business, to be a great artist. In almost any sphere, polarization is key, because if you're not doing something that some people hate, then you are, how can I put it? Then you're beige, you're bland. And okay, you might get some people who are semi-sympathetic and, go along with the message for whatever reason. But if you're not really causing ripples, if you're not forcing people to get off the fence and either love you or hate you, then you're not really going to get a lot of traction. So, as I say, what you need to do is to put aside your fears about pissing people off, about people not liking you, about people not liking the bits of you that you think are unattractive. And I've heard this said as well, actually, about physical beauty. I've heard it said before that if there's a feature, say there's a physical feature of you that you think is unattractive, like you have a big nose, or you have a mole on your chin or something like that, instead of trying to conceal that thing, you should actually try to make it seem bigger. You should try to emphasize it instead. Why do you do that? Well, because some people are not going to like it, but some people are going to fucking love it. And the people that you're targeting are the people who are going to absolutely love it. So that's what you need to do. And as I say, the first step, in my view, in this process is to think, okay, so let's peel back the layers of the onion. Let's work out who I actually am, because that way I'm going to know what I can accentuate. So if you sit there and you think, okay, well, the reality is, I'm trying to pretend to be this guy who's into sports and, I go to football with the guys every weekend, but actually I fucking hate it and I like ballet. You've got to think, okay, I'm going to be honest about that. I love ballet. So therefore, I'm going to be unapologetic about the fact that I love ballet. And if people don't like that, then they can fuck off. Or, there will be some people who don't like that, and they will, react against it, but there will be other people who do like it and who will think I'm really cool, and there'll be other people still who maybe they're not into ballet themselves, but they admire the fact that you are a man of principle. They admire the fact that you stand by what you think. So work out what it is you think in the first place, what you think and feel, and then the next stage is accentuating those things to others, and that's what we're going to be coming on to talk about in forthcoming videos. It's about being unapologetic about who you are. Now, please notice that there is a nuanced difference between what I'm talking about here and the age-old advice of just be yourself, because just being yourself it sort of implies a degree of passivity, I suppose. And what I'm suggesting is more of an active practice whereby not only do you embrace yourself, but you go out and actually, not force it on other people. That sounds wrong, but you actively go out and promote yourself as you are. It's not just that I'm a bit of a boring guy, and if people don't like that, then whatever. You're almost going to go out and be... and promote the fact that you're a boring guy. You're going to go out and promote the fact that you're into World of Warcraft. You're going to go out and promote the fact that you like ballet. You're going to make these things a feature. You're going to promote these things as a feature, not a bug. And in doing that, you're going to polarize the audience. And that audience can be the girls that you approach, or the people that you speak to online, or the people that you want to buy your books, or whatever it is. So polarization really is at the key of this, but as I say, the first step towards that is to work out who you are, and that's why I made those videos last week, which I would encourage you to watch on my YouTube channel. If you haven't, and do subscribe also to the YouTube channel as well, because there's going to be loads and loads more content. It's going to be a veritable gold mine for the 3 C's, which are charisma, confidence, and conversation skills. So I'm going to be hitting you with lots and lots of stuff coming up, but I will bring this podcast to an end now because we've been going for a little while, and it's a little bit late, so I won't burden you with too much at this stage in the week. But I hope that this has been useful. I hope you see where I'm coming from. I would appreciate any feedback on this, because I am working through the structure of the way that I present these topics as we speak. And so any feedback from you about what will be helpful, or how you'd like me to package this stuff, would be really interesting. And if you're getting value from it as well. I know some guys definitely are. So I'll leave it there, but as I say, do subscribe to the YouTube channel for more updates. Do leave me comments on YouTube as well. Subscribe to my daily email 5 days a week on the link which you'll see in the description. And as I say, you can get the Renegade Dating Blueprint package or bundle of 10 books for just $39 at the moment. So do get onto that amazing, world-beating offer before it's too late. I love you. I will see you soon. That's me signing out. For now, Troy Francis. Bye-bye.